Hey team, this is Mrs. Velasquez. Welcome to week 4. Can you believe we're already 4 weeks into the semester? Today I did change the schedule. Just keep in mind we did push back the deadline slightly. So please note as I'm posting week 4 content on Monday, week 3 content, all the assignments due last week are due tonight at 11:59 and they'll be counted on time. Just wanted to give one more day, kind of allow people to catch up a bit. And then please also know, since again I'm submitting or opening week 4 on Monday, you will have the full week. So that will include the assignments for this week will be closing, or again will be due 11:59 on Monday, September 2nd. All right. Please also keep in mind as you're looking at the screen right now, don't forget at the bottom, every week posted is what I call the news and notes. So it kind of just gives you kind of an overview if you want to reference as you are checking in the Schoology each and every day. Now, I also want to remind you as we do kick off, looking at the learning journal, or more specifically the daily reflections. Reminder, since we did switch to the Google form, which I got some feedback, a lot of people really like the form because it's easy. It's just a quick check-in on a daily basis. It allows me to also see who is not checking in on a daily basis. So just a quick reminder, and I did kind of spell out on the news and notes, using the Google form on a daily basis is almost like taking attendance for an e-learning course. Remember, you do have the flexibility to kind of choose and time manage when you place your assignments, but you should at least be, again, thinking about content, maybe asking questions, maybe connecting, thinking about when you'll make space in your schedule for our assignments. And then finally, before I show you around, I just want to remind you guys that it is a 3-day weekend. Yes, 3-day weekend. Well-deserved. So please keep in mind, you definitely want to get a head start on your assignments, so that way you have a little more space and flexibility with this nice 3-day weekend. Before I turn you loose, I also got a couple questions on textbooks. So if you're kind of curious, well, gee, you mentioned textbook numbers, but I don't have a textbook at my site. You can look right here on the screen. Up at the top of your Schoology, you should have a series of boxes right here, and you can see right here I have the teacher view, but you should have one that says McGraw-Hill Education. So when you click on that, it should, in theory, take you to a spot in which you can launch the app, okay, like so. And we did try this out with a student in class. When you do launch the app, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you change it over to Oxford Online Learning. Okay, so see right here for NM High School, it has my AP Human Geography course. But if I click on Oxford Online Learning, that should take me to, again, my World History book. When I open the World History book, I'll be able to launch it. And again, you'll find the different chapters. Okay, so if you look at the dashboard, you can scroll down. There's a couple different options. You won't have the teacher ebook, but you'll have what is called the Interactive Student Edition. Okay, so looking at the Student Interactive Edition, you can see it is organized by different chapters as well as lessons. So you can kind of click off to the side. It will show you the table of contents. It will kind of walk your way through. Okay, and you can start flipping through. So if I kind of skip ahead, table of contents, and again, eventually, if I go past the skill builder, I'm going to find, oh, look, we said turning points in history. Look, we're using our, so here we go, and back right here. Okay, so here we have a picture of, in this case, one of our Greek philosophers, Socrates. All right, so the world before modern in that case. But I think if you scroll down right here, it will show, here we go, that's a little easier. Okay, so Greeks and Romans was our first one, and then you go, here you go, lesson 2. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys that in case you were looking for your textbook. Reminder, textbook pages as we start getting things going will be referenced throughout the lessons. So this is a go-to and a good reference. So for example, when we close out the unit, maybe you want to go back and read over, looking at some knowledge on democracy, as well as our discussion of Roman contributions to democracy. All right, so if we take a look at week 4, the title of week 4 is Democratic Ideals, and also starting to think about documents of democracy and civic engagement in that case. So you can see right here we have the schedule of assignments. Please keep in mind when you click on 4.1, you're going to find the Google Forms. So the Google Forms reminder, as you are still developing good habits, I am reading lots of reflections that people are guilty, and again, the beginning of the year is a little bit hard for us all, but guilty of procrastination. So I'm just throwing in some quick videos. They're only about 5 minutes long, but they might give you some sort of tips and reminders as you begin kind of planning out your week ahead. Okay, if you scroll down, this is the daily reflection. And remember, this is a little bit more user-friendly. Literally all that you need to do on a daily basis is simply open up the Google form. And then I'm just asking for, again, your rosebuds and your thorns, so to speak. So something that went well, something you understood, something you learned, or again, challenges, or how can you address any problems or questions you encounter. I'm really trying to read the thorns, so to speak, of your reflections. So people have asked me questions in the reflections and I try to respond. So remember, the reflections are just between you and me, so you can be honest and heartfelt. But I do want to remind you that you are required to keep them about the content. So I've learned about your weeks and challenges in math classes and maybe with friends and family commitments. But really the focus of the daily reflections to keep you focused on e-learning world history. Okay, finally the last piece, which again, if you did not complete this, week 3, end of the week reflection will be due tonight. This one I'm looking for more substantial reflection. Okay, if the daily reflection is only 2 or 3 sentences per night, the end of the week reflection, that's really the meat in terms of how you really sort of pause, reflect, make adjustments, set goals. Okay, as you are developing your learning, and especially in this type of environment, which tends to be more independent, it's really important you're not just going. You're taking that moment every week to kind of pause and, like I said, think about what you're learning and how you're learning it for next week in that case. Okay, when you scroll down after you take a look at 4.1, then you have 4.2, which is democratic principles and ideals. For this particular lesson, what you guys are going to be required to do is there is a 2-part lecture. Please keep in mind, I'm just introducing 5 basic democratic ideals with expectation that, again, I strongly suggest that you create a graphic organizer, possibly a 3-column chart, and title it, what does it say, what does it mean, and why does it matter in that case. The democratic ideals I'm going to address something called the rule of law, concept that is true to democracy, due process, limited government, consent of the governed, and also a concept known as individual liberty. Okay, upon completing that lecture and filling out that graphic organizer in hopefully a notebook or a spiral to keep your notes organized, I'm asking you to create a summary in which I gave you a stem. Now, when you do post this, you can take out the lines, but this just kind of give you that structure, that skeleton. Okay, so there are 5 democratic ideals in which you'll learn about, but I'm asking you to select 3. Okay, and I would like you to select 3, and again, notice how the stem, which you can somewhat modify depending on your writing level, but if you want to keep it simple, for example, due process is essential to democracy because, and then I would follow with my explanation. Okay, so this one is going to be posted again on the discussion board. And again, you can see right here the grading scale or the rubric to follow. Okay, looking further ahead, you can see 4.3 is going to look at democratic ideals in the news. So just like last week, of course, when I had you pull a current event, I pulled Venezuela and what's happening regarding their government. For this week, I want you to practice that, and I would like you to go ahead and start reading. In this case, students will read a short article talking about free speech rights. Okay, I give you a link right there. And I want you to go ahead and respond and think about, again, what democratic ideals are represented in the article. Okay, that being said, again, then students will research their own current event online, and it should say Schoology, of course. But I would like you to go ahead and complete a summary and a reflection of the current event, as well as how it connects to our discussion of democracy. Okay, so for this one, it's kind of nice. You get to really choose what you would like to find as far as something in the news. You can choose something from our own democracy, our own government, U.S. news, or you can take it to that global scale. And perhaps you're curious about different types of government, again, that are navigating democracy or, again, fighting for democracy. One current event that comes to mind is a series of protests in Hong Kong. So if something that you've heard about and you're kind of curious about, this is really your chance to bring to life, again, something that's happening to the news, and of course tying it to our democratic ideals for this particular assignment. All right, 4.4 is a lesson that we're going to call Promoting Civic Engagement. And in this case, I gave you 2 short articles, okay, or excuse me, 1 clip and 1 short article. One is titled Why Civic Education is Important. Perhaps in your campuses, you've heard the phrase, again, civic-mindedness or civic engagement. So if we're talking about being civic-minded or civic engagement, we're trying to get citizens to participate in a democracy. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to learn as we unravel democracy and the foundations of it and the development of it is how important and how essential it is for citizens to step up and participate. More so than just, again, learning about the different ideals that I'll be lecturing on, it's really about sort of making those ideals a reality, fighting for those rights, and using your voice in a democracy. Okay, so what are some things specifically citizens can do to keep a democracy, quote unquote, healthy? Okay, so for this assignment, I'm asking you to respond to the quote. And again, for this one, super short and sweet, more thinking about it, which the civic education is going to gear us up for our last piece for this week, which is the project. Okay, so I'd like you to create a 100-word post and why civic engagement or education, excuse me, is important. All right, and the last one, and I want to stress that is not due by Monday. Okay, this is going to take some time. In fact, I think I've already budgeted some time next week in week 5 assignments. But we're going to begin, which I'm really excited about, a really cool project, which we're going to refer to as Democracy PSA. A PSA is usually what's referred to as a public service announcement. Almost, again, it is an argumentative claim, usually in a short little video, or almost think of it like a commercial, trying to get you to think or trying to get you to promote certain ideals. So to get things started, again, I give you a series of steps. So definitely this week, I want you to start with those first couple steps, which is to watch a series of PSAs. I want you to read or watch, for example, Partnership for Drug-Free America and some anti-smoking PSAs. Okay, so as you watch those clips, I want you to think about what they had in common, what kind of strategies, what kind of messages that they're trying to bring awareness or change people's behavior regarding a certain issue. Okay, now this week you'll be starting to think about, again, plan your storyboard and begin sort of mapping out how you are going to design your own PSA. Now it's not due this week, but you can see right here, ultimately next week, as you do begin developing and plan out your PSA, we're going to upload them on the Flipgrid community, so that way we can also bring awareness and kind of showcase your PSAs to the actual team, which is kind of cool, again, using Flipgrid to kind of be able to learn from each other and watch each other and learn from your classroom presentations. Okay, you can see that there's 2 options. Okay, you can start thinking about if you're more savvy with some video type apps. For example, a lot of students are familiar in their classrooms using a program or an app known as Adobe Spark. Or you can choose to do, again, a slideshow. This usually is a slideshow, and sometimes students will put a series of images or a series of words, and simply using an app, for example, Screencastify, or again, Screencast-O-Matic, that you could download on a Chromebook or again to your PC. That way you can actually, similar to what I'm doing right now, you can record the screen and you can talk over. Okay, so you can see right here, I provided sort of the outline or the skeleton as far as the rubric. But again, I want to be clear that this week is really about planning time. Like I said, really just getting a sense of what a PSA is, making sure we have that foundational information, which includes understanding those democratic ideals, as well as also kind of thinking about what is the importance of civic education.